For more on the tax plan, we're joined by Republican Congressman Jim Renacci from Ohio and a member of the House Ways and Means Tax Policy Subcommittee by phone from the Capitol. And Congressman, thanks for coming on. I believe you are enthusiastically supporting this plan, but we're hearing from some of your colleagues that they don't like some of the provisions, such as the loss of the deduction for state and local taxes. Is the plan going to change a lot, a little, or what?
Well, here's the problem. No matter what plan you put out, I've always said that one thing about being in Washington. I'm a business guy for almost 3 decades and a CPA before I came here. Had my own CPA firm along with many, many other businesses. Once you put anything out in Washington, everybody likes to pull out the pieces they dislike, but they forget about the drop in the tax rate, which is the real key. So the goal here has to be to make sure that we lower the rates, we lower the corporate rates, we lower rates on middle America, and we make it simple. And that's what this tax plan does. Now, are there things in there I don't like? Absolutely. And there are things that I would say, well, let's change this, let's change that. But if you think about it, and here's what I say to those that talk about the SALT deduction. 72% of the people don't itemize today. When you double the standard deduction from $12,000 to $24,000, almost 95% of the people don't itemize. Yes, there will be people that, and with 95, you have 5% who still itemize. There will be people who lose some of their deductions, but at the same time, they get a lower rate. As a tax practitioner, I can tell you, people came in with a 39% rate, and they love to get it lower. They came in with a 28% rate, they'd love to get it lower. We're already starting at a lower rate, so we've got to be careful because we're starting at a lower rate, and people don't want to accept that first. And many members here haven't figured that out. They have to look at this from the rate perspective first, and that's got to be the key.
Sounds like you should have stayed as a CPA, because I don't know about you, but this was supposed to be simplification. This bill is awfully complicated. There are a lot of provisions that are now coming out that are complicated, such as the pass-through, lower rate for pass-throughs, for example. A lot of rules around that to keep it from being gamed. But you said that there were some things in the plan that you didn't like. What are they, and how would those change potentially?
Well, look, I'm a big believer. I was a business guy. I'm a big believer in ordinary and necessary business expenses staying in place. So I wasn't a real big fan of the interest deduction being capped, but I understand that we have to do some of these things. So that's a big issue for me. But in the end, again, complications, I actually think for the individual, we've simplified this. Yes, we've complicated a little bit for pass-throughs, but you have to do that. But there are so many planning opportunities. And you're right. As a CPA, as a tax lawyer, just like any other bill you put out there, what I keep telling people is quit being so concerned about this complication or that complication, because there's going to be opportunities now where even the pass-throughs, where you can do some tax planning, where you'll still be able to lower your rates down to 25% or even lower. And I think that's where people have to relax, take a look at this, digest it. It's too easy to say, I don't like this provision, I don't like that provision. What we really have to do is look at the entire package.
And Congressman, I think it is worth pointing out that this is a very young bill. As much as we've been talking about it, it's not quite 36 hours old yet. So there's a lot to go through and there's a lot to learn about before there's a yay or nay. A lot of folks are not actually committing yet. So my question for you is, one of the proposals out there is to somehow merge infrastructure in with tax reform. And infrastructure really seems like something everybody can get on board with. Does that have a shot?
I don't believe so, and the problem is it's too easy. Once you start merging things in, you cause nothing but problems. That's the problem with Washington. As a businessman for almost 3 decades coming to Washington, everybody likes to merge things in and make the bill bigger and complicated, and then you get your piece and that piece and that piece. And but in the end, we should just really stick to tax reform and tax cuts. Let's get this done. Let's do infrastructure next. That's one of the reasons why there were no health care provisions in here. Some people wanted to eliminate the mandate, the individual mandate, and there were some that said, you know what, we need to keep this stuff separate, because when you start to bring it together, you start to open up other doors. So I don't think infrastructure needs to be brought into here. I know, there's always somebody out there that thinks this needs to be done or that needs to be done. There's 535 people who all believe they've got a better idea. One thing I've learned about Washington, if you've got to be able to accept some compromise to get some things done.
And in our last 15 seconds, is it going to get done by Christmas?
Well, I hope so. I think in like anything else, if there's one or two people in the Senate who want to cause problems and grandstand because they want to be president, yep, that'll be a problem. If there's a couple people in the House that want to grandstand, and I realize they'll get mad, some will get mad at me and say they're not grandstanding, they're representing their district. But in the end, we got to represent the country.
All right, Congressman Jim Renacci of Ohio, thanks for joining us.